So let's say you want to have some subs, but you don't have a system processor to take care of the crossover. What are you going to do? Today I'm going to show you how to set it up using a matrix on your digital console. It doesn't matter which brand you have, they'll pretty much all do this. Stay tuned and we'll check it out. Hey, if you're new here, my name is James and I help Soundtech save the day by eliminating distractions. So if that's you, go ahead and hit subscribe and ding the little bell to get notified every time I post a new video. So a couple weeks ago, I get a call from my pastor and there's no sound coming out of the sound system. There's sound going to the lobby, so we know something in the console is working, but nothing is coming out of the speakers. So we did some checking and we found out that the system processor was not passing audio. Now, I was actually on the road at the time and couldn't come in to fix it. So here's how I walked him through how to do it over the phone so that we could get subs for Sunday. And everything's better with low end. So if you like low end, go ahead and mash that thumbs up. So the first thing that I needed to do after I plugged the output of the system processor into the output of the console, right? I plugged them into the XLR outputs in the back. I chose, there was already, coming out for the stereo bus 15 and 16. So then I just added the sub outputs on 13 and 14. So I skipped all that for you, but that was me patching into the back of the console. I don't know why there's two sub outputs other than there's 2 amps and they weren't bridged or whatever. So however that's set up back there, I don't know, but I knew that I needed both of them to be on in order to have that. So I needed 2 outputs there, and I'll show you how to deal with that in a second. So the first thing on the console is that I'm gonna select the stereo bus, and I'm gonna send it to a matrix. I've already got matrix front of house, left and right on 1 and 2 here. We're also streaming off this console, and we've got the building feed. But matrix 6 here is not lit up, but it is there, right? And that's where we're gonna set up our sub send. So our tops are gonna be sent here, our subs are gonna be sent right here. So I need to send the left-right bus to these in order to get there. So we're select it, select our bus sends. You can see that 1 and 2 are already being sent to their post fader. And so as I change this here, the level 2 here changes as well. That's already been done for us. The thing we have to add now is that we have to also add it to matrix number 6 because we want the full range signal from our main mix to go to both of these outputs. So here on 5 through 8, I'm going to turn this up and I'm going to turn it up to 0 because that's good engineering, right? Now on these matrices, even though this isn't lit up, I could connect it to the computer and change the name and make it light up. But for right now, we're just gonna roll with it how it is. Now we're gonna put a high pass filter on our matrix for our mains, for our top speakers. So I'm gonna go to the EQ and I'm on the low band, I'm gonna change the shape to a low cut. I'm gonna put in the EQ and I'm gonna just choose a frequency of 80. Because that's a good middle of the road crossover point for subs. Now we're not getting super picky here. I'm not really concerned if it's 79.6 or 82.5. We're trying to MacGyver this, okay? So that high pass filter is on there and we've got this on our equalizer. It's important that if it doesn't look like that, right, it's not on. So we have to engage it. It might not be engaged automatically. These are already stereo linked, so both of those are gonna get that. On our matrix for our subs, we are going to take this and put a low pass filter on it. So if we go to our high and go to the high cut, you can see we can put this high band, normally this would start out up here, but we can roll this all the way down, again, to the same frequency, 79, 80 hertz, something like that. And make sure, again, the EQ is engaged. That's gonna make it so that none of the high information is going to our subs, none of the low information is going to our tops. I'm gonna keep this fader down for right now, and we will see how much we turn it up in just a minute. When we go to our routing, now we have to go to our outputs page. Usually it starts over here on input, so you tab over until outputs. And if we go over here to output 15 and 16, and then scroll to the right place, you can see that their source is 16 is matrix 2, 15 is matrix 1. So these are coming out 15 and 16, that's our mains. if we go out to output 14 and 13, we are going to make sure that those are both coming from matrix 6, right? So we're assigning both of those outputs to the same matrix. That's how we're going to get our sub signal to both of those. So that is set up and patched and ready to go. Now, the way that we tune this is that we're going to play music without any subs, and then we're going to slowly ride our sub level up. Now, it would be much better if this was labeled, but it's not. We're going to have to roll with it. What we want to do, first we verify that it's working. So we mute our tops and we push this up and we make sure that we hear rumble, right? It's not going to be, bone shattering. We just have to make sure that something is there and that both of them are working, right? They are getting some signal. Then we can pull this back down, listen to these, and we're going to turn this up until the bass levels feel about right. Now, this is not going to be rocket science. You just have to know, does the bass feel in proportion or out of proportion than the rest of the frequencies? If you crank it up too much, you're going to have way too much low end and things are going to feel cluttery, especially in the region right above the high pass filter zone or low pass filter zone. Then that's going to be too much and that's going to clutter things up, right? Remember, it's all about the low end. When you get that right, everything else falls into place. It's worth repeating. It's all about the low end. When you get that right, everything else falls into place. The other thing is we want this to be more conspicuous in its absence than its presence, right? So we turn this up and mute it. We want it to feel like it went away more than we notice it when it's there. It needs to just fit in. Now, we like to party, so maybe we bump this up a little bit beyond that, but that's gonna get you in the ballpark for how to set up your crossover. Now, there is a lot to learn about crossovers and the way that they're set up and their slopes and their phase and frequency response. All of that is new territory for me, so I'm still learning that. But let's say that you've got a little bit too much happening in this area, or when you notice that bars are jumping around in the just above the crossover region, right? But you're feeling that when you hear those notes hit, maybe you go to your mains and you turn up this frequency just a little bit until that seems to go away, right? Conversely, you could do that in the opposite direction on your subs if you wanted to try that, but that may or may not work the way that you want it to, and you just got to roll with it. So those are the ways that I would set up a crossover quickly and easily, and simple enough that I could talk somebody through it over the phone. If you have a console that you don't have a system processor, but you want to add a crossover for your subs. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here next time.